everybody, it's Lady Mal. Yeah, I'm running way behind on these things because, well, it's the summer and I'm bored and I have other stuff to do. Anyway, got a couple of things to talk about today. Once again, I'm harping on manners, not just in our lifestyle, but just in general. You know, be a good human being. Don't, if you're going to break up with somebody, talk to them first before you start changing statuses, because if you just change the status and don't talk to them until, 2 days later, you've already been a dick. Don't be a dick. It's pretty simple. Also, don't put down one kink over another. Just because you're not into it doesn't mean that someone else isn't into it. Yeah, you may not understand it, and you may not like it or agree with it, but that doesn't mean that someone else doesn't find it, fulfilling or whatever. My main example is talking about old guard versus nowadays. When I first started out, it was very old guard, you knelt, you didn't speak unless you were spoken to, there were contracts involved. Okay, the definition of a contract in the BDSM community is a written out agreement, that's Dumbledore, between the dominant and submissive. It can either be formal or non, and is usually written after much negotiation by the dominant and the sub, outlining what structure, guidelines, rules, and boundaries to the relationship are agreed upon by the two. It is not legally binding. I have filled out numerous contracts, and if you feel like you need to, that's great. If you feel like you don't need to, that's great too, but it's not wrong or out of place if you do it. It's just a different form of agreeing to a relationship. It is a little more old-fashioned, but honestly, it puts everything out in black and white on paper, what's expected from both sides, and there's no gray areas. If you watch The Big Bang Theory, it's kind of like Sheldon and all of his agreements, like his roommate agreement with all the 1,800 clauses in it. It's kind of like that. There's no room for, oh, well, you never said that's what you want. No, you did say it's in there. Opinions?
No.
No. Daddy's not very talkative today. Anyway, and for the love of God, if you're in the younger crowd watching this, and I mean younger, like 18 to like mid-20s, don't be a douche. Don't be cocky or stuck up, because it really puts off anybody else actually wanting to be your friend. Don't use people. I mean, you're going to use people, that's fine, whatever, but don't expect their friends to be nice to you once you've used their friend. It's just rude. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, the main crux of what I'm going to talk about this one is collar etiquette, because I've seen a lot, and a lot of it ticks me off. I'm going to start with usually the collaring process. Everyone has their own process, so it's different for everyone. But the one that I've seen used the most is you have a trial period, which is like you're dating, you play occasionally, but you're not committed to one person. You're still free to go out and do what you want to. You're just trying it out to see if you're going to get along. Then there's the training collar, which is, okay, it's like serious dating. You're not going to play with anybody else. You may actually have a physical collar, but it's temporary. Where you flesh out your relationship more to see if this is what you really want, if this is going the way you want it to go, and then you go on to an actual, like, what everyone believes a collar is. You're owned by that person, you serve that person, the whole 9 yards. It's like getting married. Don't ever move from one step to the next step if you're unsure of your motivations or their motivations, or whether or not you are really actually going to get along or not. Because it's kind of like dating somebody and then you get engaged, and then, like 3 months into the engagement, you decide, oh, this isn't really what I want. And, wedding plans have already been made and crap. It's just rude. So, yeah, always be sure that this is what you want, this is what you're going to do, because getting collared is, in most people's eyes, equivalent to getting married. It's that kind of commitment, and your word is your bond. And if you decide 2 months later that, oh, nope, this is what I want, here's your collar, I'm gone, you're kind of flaky. You should have thought about it more in the beginning. Once you receive your collar, be proud of it, wear it when you can, where you can, that's all up to you. But don't ever let anyone touch it. Like, especially if you have on with a D-ring, the person who gave it to you, and anybody who you deem worthy or whatever, I can't think of the words, whoever you give permission to touch it are the only people who should touch it. Random people should not come up and grab the D-ring. That is the fastest way to get me to slap somebody's hand. Don't touch my collar. Unless you're in that aforementioned group, you don't have permission to touch my collar, and you're invading my personal space. You didn't give that collar to me. You don't know what it stands for. Really, Dumbledore? Thank you. Anyway, it's also generally frowned upon if the submissive just goes out and buys their own collar. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't...
Kind of frowned upon.
Okay, really frowned upon. That's not to say that you can't physically buy it. Like, if you're buying it over the internet and your dominant doesn't have a credit card, but you do, that's okay. But the dominant or sadist or whoever, the person in charge should be the one to pick it out and tell you, this is what you're getting, go buy it, or they buy it for you and bring it to you. Like when I got my dog tag, I didn't pick it out. I didn't even know I was getting it. He just kind of showed up with it, and I was okay with that. But when you start saying, oh, I'm going to post my own, or I'm going to buy my own collar and blah, 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 it's just tacky. It's like buying yourself an engagement ring or a wedding set. It just doesn't make any sense. It's just really screwed up. Also, if you go somewhere, like to a play party or whatever, and you're on a leash, and you leave your owner's side to go do something, whether it's to go to the bathroom, go get somebody drinks, go get you drinks, whatever, hold your leash, because if you walk around with it hanging down, that's like an open sign that says, hey, I'm free, grab my leash. I had an incident like that. I went to go get the woman I was submitting to a drink, and I tucked the leash into the top of my corset, and some jackass grabbed it, and I jumped down his throat, slapped his hand, got into kind of a pretty big argument over it because he was offended that I touched him, and I was offended that he grabbed my leash. So just, little things like that. Really, that's about all I've got. I'm sorry this is kind of disconnected and kind of jumbled, but I'm tired, and I didn't sleep well last night, and I'm like 3 vlogs behind, so just deal with it. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do for the rest of my vlogs. I'm thinking about doing one on Therian, since big man back there is one. But I haven't really ironed that out yet. So I will see y'all in a couple of days. Mwah. Love y'all. Bye-bye.